The forest was quiet except for the occasional bird call and rustling leaves. Sergeant Jack Norris moved silently through the underbrush, his training exercise nearly complete. 3 days alone in the wilderness had sharpened his senses. He noticed everything: the direction of the wind, animal tracks on the ground, the changing light as afternoon faded into evening. Then came the sound that didn't belong, a high-pitched whine that cut through the air, growing louder by the second. Jack looked up through the canopy of trees just as the sky turned bright orange. Something was falling, something big. The object crashed through the treetops about half a mile away. The ground shook beneath Jack's boots. Birds scattered in panic, their alarmed calls filling the air. Without hesitation, Jack grabbed his pack and moved toward the impact site. Military protocol demanded he investigate, but curiosity drove him forward just as much. The crash had carved a path of destruction through the forest. Broken trees and scorched earth marked the trail. Jack followed it carefully, rifle ready. When he reached the edge of a small clearing, he stopped and stared. It wasn't a meteor or satellite debris. It was a ship, sleek, silver, with no visible windows or doors. Nothing from Earth looked like this. A section of the hull suddenly slid open, releasing a cloud of steam. Jack ducked behind a fallen tree, watching as a figure stumbled out of the opening. The being stood upright on 2 legs, but was clearly not human. Tall and slender with bluish-purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. Long silver hair flowed down its back. The creature wore what looked like armor, form-fitting plates that glowed with faint light around the edges. It was clutching its side, where a dark liquid seeped between its fingers. Jack shifted slightly, and a twig snapped beneath his boot. The alien's head whipped toward the sound, revealing a face that was almost human but not quite. Large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed amber, a small nose, and lips that were a deeper purple than the rest of its skin. In one fluid motion, the alien pulled out what could only be a weapon and pointed it in Jack's direction. "Come out now, or I will fire," the creature said in perfect English, though the voice had a musical quality that no human voice possessed. Jack raised his hand slowly and stood. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You are a soldier?" "Yes, Sergeant Jack Norris, United States Army. But I'm alone, just on a training mission." "A convenient story." The alien winced, its free hand pressing harder against the wound. "You're hurt," Jack said, taking a careful step forward. "I have medical supplies." "Stay back." The weapon hummed, glowing brighter. "Look, I don't know who or what you are, but you're injured on my planet. Let me help you." The alien seemed to consider this, amber eyes scanning Jack from head to toe. "Your species is not supposed to know of others yet. This is a terrible mistake." "Well, it's a bit late for that now," Jack said. "And you're still bleeding." After a tense moment, the alien lowered the weapon slightly. "I am Princess Laratha of the Xenavalian Empire. My ship malfunctioned during atmospheric entry." "Princess." Jack couldn't hide his surprise. "Like royal family?" "Yes. And if I die here, it will mean war between our worlds." She swayed slightly, her face paling to a lighter shade of blue. Jack moved forward just in time to catch her as she collapsed. The weapon clattered to the ground beside them. "No war today," he muttered, lowering her gently to the ground and reaching for his medical kit. "Just stay with me, Princess." As the forest darkened around them, Jack worked quickly to stop the bleeding, wondering how one training exercise had turned into first contact with an alien royal. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Princess Laratha woke to the smell of something cooking. She blinked, disoriented, her amber eyes adjusting to the dim light of a small shelter. Her side throbbed with pain, but when she touched it, she found clean bandages where her wound had been. "You're awake. Good." The human soldier sat across from her, tending to a small fire where something bubbled in a metal container. Night had fallen, and the shelter, made of sticks and a canvas tarp, kept them hidden in the forest. "Where is my weapon?" she demanded, trying to sit up. "Safe. Along with your other tech." Jack nodded toward her communication device, placed carefully on a flat rock. "It's damaged, but I didn't touch it. Figured you wouldn't want me messing with alien technology." Loretha relaxed slightly. "You are correct. Thank you for treating my wound. Basic first aid. Your biology seems similar enough to ours that the antiseptic worked." He stirred the pot. "Are you hungry?" "It's just soup from my rations, but it's hot." Her stomach rumbled in response. How undignified for a royal, she thought. "I should check if your food is compatible with my system," she said, pulling a small scanner from her wrist gauntlet. After passing it over the soup, she nodded. "Acceptable." Jack handed her a cup of the steaming liquid. "So, Princess of the Xenevalian Empire, want to tell me what you're doing on Earth?" Loretha sipped the soup cautiously. It was bland but warming. "Diplomatic survey mission. My first solo assignment. We've been monitoring your world for decades, waiting for the right time to make contact. And crashing was part of the plan." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Obviously not." Her voice sharpened. "There was interference in your upper atmosphere. Something my ship's systems didn't recognize." Jack frowned. "Military testing, Haiti. They've been developing new satellite defense systems. Primitive but effective, it seems." She set down her cup. "I need to contact my ship. They'll be searching for me." "That might be a problem." Jack pointed upward. "My people will be looking too." That crash wasn't exactly subtle. "By morning, this area will be swarming with military personnel." Loretha's eyes widened. "That cannot happen. My people have strict protocols about first contact. It must be controlled, diplomatic." "Too late for that now," Jack said. "Question is, what do we do about it?" Both fell silent, the weight of their situation hanging between them. "Why are you helping me?" Loretha finally asked. "You should be reporting my presence to your superiors." Jack poked at the fire with a stick. "Good question. Maybe because dropping you off at a military base would mean experiments, interrogations, things I wouldn't wish on anyone. Or maybe because you said something about a war if you died here. My mother, the Queen, would certainly send forces if I disappeared." Loretha's face softened slightly. "Your kindness may have prevented an interplanetary incident." Jack laughed softly. "First time my insubordination saved a planet." A distant sound caught their attention. Helicopter rotors. "They're starting the search already," Jack said, quickly dousing the fire. "We need to move." "Where can we go?" Loretha struggled to her feet. "There's an old ranger station about 6 miles north. Might have radio equipment you could modify to boost your signal." Jack gathered his pack. "Can you walk?" Loretha stood straight, her royal dignity returning despite her circumstances. "I am Xenevalian. We do not show weakness." Jack smiled. "Good, because we've got a long night ahead of us." He hesitated, then extended his hand to her. "Partners for now." Loretha stared at his hand before slowly taking it in her own. "For now, human." As they slipped into the darkness of the forest, the searchlights of helicopters swept over the trees behind them, hunting for the alien visitor who was already far from where they expected. Dawn broke with the sound of engines in the distance. Jack and Loretha had been moving through the forest all night, stopping only when the princess needed to rest. Her wound was healing faster than any human injury would, but it still slowed them down. "Your military is persistent," Loretha whispered as they crouched behind a fallen log. A drone buzzed overhead, its camera scanning the forest floor. "They don't give up easily," Jack replied, checking the small compass in his hand, "especially when it comes to possible threats from the sky." "I am not a threat." Loretha's eyes flashed with annoyance. "Tell that to the guys who don't know you're a princess and not an invasion force." Jack peeked over the log. "Clear for now. Let's move." They continued north, Jack leading them through streams to hide their scent and over rocky ground to minimize footprints. Years of special operations training were finally proving useful outside of combat. "You're good at this," Laratha observed after they successfully avoided another search team. "Evading your own people." Jack's face darkened. "Never thought I'd be on this side of a manhunt." "You could still turn me in," she said quietly. "Save your career. Your honor. Maybe. But something tells me that wouldn't end well for anyone." He gestured for her to duck as a helicopter passed overhead. "Besides, I've got questions only you can answer." "Such as?" "Like why a princess is doing reconnaissance work. Don't you have people for that?" Laratha's posture stiffened. "On Zenival, royalty leads through action, not just words. This mission was my proving ground. And you crashed." Jack winced. "Sorry, that was accurate," she finished, a hint of bitterness in her voice. "My mother warned me I wasn't ready. Now I've potentially exposed our existence to your entire species ahead of schedule." The sound of radio chatter made them both freeze. A patrol was coming their way. "Down," Jack hissed, pulling Laratha into a shallow depression beneath some ferns. 4 soldiers walked past, not 20 feet away. Jack recognized the insignia on their shoulders. Not regular army, but a specialized unit. One he'd never worked with but had heard stories about. "That's Division 6, he whispered once they passed. "They handle unusual situations." "They know what I am," Laratha said, not as a question. "Which means this goes higher than I thought." Jack's mind raced. "We need to move faster." They covered another 2 miles before the ranger station came into view. It sat in a small clearing, abandoned and weathered by years of neglect. "Wait," Jack said, studying the building. "Something's wrong." Laratha scanned the area with a device from her gauntlet. Human heat signatures inside. 3 of them. "They beat us here," Jack cursed under his breath. "They must have figured out where we were heading." "How?" "They know me. Know how I think." He looked at her with real concern. "I'm sorry, but we can't stay together anymore. I'm leading them right to you." "Where would I go?" Laratha's voice carried both royal command and genuine fear. "I'm stranded on a strange planet." Jack pointed to a mountain ridge in the distance. "There's a cave system there. Good place to hide while I create a diversion. And once you've created this diversion, I'll find you." He handed her his compass. "North by northeast. About 3 miles." Laratha studied his face. "Why risk more for me, human?" Jack struggled to answer. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because I want to know more about the stars you come from." A sudden burst of radio static from the ranger station made them both tense. "Go," Jack urged. "I'll buy you time." Laratha hesitated, then reached out to touch his shoulder. A gesture that seemed formal and yet intimate. "May the light of Zenival guide you, Jack Norris." Then she was gone, slipping through the trees with surprising grace for someone injured. Jack watched her disappear before turning toward the ranger station, drawing his knife. Time to face old colleagues and new enemies. The cave was deeper than it first appeared. Laratha had ventured far enough inside to feel safe, but not so far that she couldn't see the entrance. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, creating a steady rhythm that matched her heartbeat. She'd been waiting for 6 hours. The twin moons of her homeworld would have completed a quarter of their nightly dance in that time. Here on Earth, with its single pale moon now visible through the cave opening, time seemed to crawl. "Anyone home?" Jack's voice echoed from the entrance. Laratha lowered the makeshift spear she had fashioned. "Here." Jack limped into view, his face streaked with dirt and blood. His uniform was torn at the shoulder. "You're injured," she said, moving to help him. "Just a graze." The diversion worked, but not without some excitement. He sat heavily on a rock. "They think we're heading west now. Should buy us some time." Laratha studied his wound. "I can help with this." She removed a small device from her belt, one of the few pieces of technology she'd managed to keep. "It's a cellular accelerator. For minor injuries." Jack eyed it cautiously. "Will it turn me purple?" "No," she said, then paused. Though that would improve your appearance considerably. Jack blinked, then laughed. Did you just make a joke, Your Highness? Laratha almost smiled. Humor exists even among the stars, Sergeant. She pressed the device to his shoulder. It hummed softly, emitting a pale blue light. Jack felt a warm sensation as his pain faded. That's amazing, he said when she removed it. Your people must not fear injury or illness. We fear other things. Laratha sat across from him. Political instability, resource depletion, the great void between stars. Jack pulled some ration bars from his pocket and offered her one. Sounds a lot like Earth, just on a bigger scale. They ate in silence for a moment, the cave growing darker as night fell outside. Tell me about your world, Jack said finally. What's it like being a princess of an interstellar empire? Laratha looked up at the cave ceiling, as if she could see through it to the stars. Lonely, filled with responsibility. My people have visited 1,000 worlds, yet I've never been allowed to walk freely on any of them. Until you crashed here, Jack pointed out. Yes, ironic that my first taste of freedom comes from disaster. She tilted her head. And your life? Is being the soldier what you wish to become? Jack considered this. I joined to serve something bigger than myself. To protect people. He gave a wry smile. Never expected people would include alien royalty. Our paths are seldom what we expect. Laratha reached into a hidden pocket in her suit and removed a small crystal. When she twisted it, holographic images appeared between them. Strange cities with towers that seemed to float, massive ships sailing through star fields, beams of various forms walking together. This is Zenival, she said, and some of our allied worlds. Jack stared in wonder. It's beautiful. We have art, music, science beyond what your people have achieved, but we lack something Earth has in abundance. What's that? Passion. Unpredictability. She closed her hand, and the images vanished. My people calculate everything. Every decision, every word, every gesture. We've become efficient, but cold. Not you, Jack said. You seem pretty passionate about your mission. Perhaps that's why I was sent. I've always been considered problematic. For the first time, a real smile touched her lips. Too emotional, too curious about other ways of life. Jack smiled back. Those sound like compliments to me. On Earth, perhaps they are. Outside, an owl hooted, the sound echoing into the cave. We should rest, Jack said. Tomorrow we need to find a way to contact your ship without alerting my entire military. Laratha nodded, but neither moved. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two beings from different worlds, finding unexpected understanding in a dark cave on a planet that belonged to neither. The mountain pass offered a clear view of the valley below. Jack and Laratha crouched behind a cluster of rocks, watching the small research facility nestled among the trees. That's our best shot, Jack said, lowering his binoculars. It's a weather station, but it has satellite uplink capabilities. Might be strong enough for you to modify and reach your ship. Laratha scanned the building with her wrist device. 3 humans inside. Minimal security. Civilian scientists, Jack confirmed. Should be easy enough tow. A sudden sound from behind made them both turn. Too late. Hands where I can see them, Sergeant Norris. 6 soldiers emerged from the trees, weapons trained on them. Jack recognized their leader immediately. Major Kelly. Jack slowly raised his hands. Fancy meeting you here. Did you really think we wouldn't track you? The Major's eyes were fixed on Laratha, a mixture of caution and fascination on his face. So it's true. First contact. This isn't what it looks like, Jack started. Save it for the debriefing. Major Kelly nodded to his men. Secure them both. Separate transport vehicles. As soldiers approach, Laratha tensed beside Jack. He gave her a slight shake of his head, a warning not to fight. She understood and allowed herself to be led away, her eyes never leaving Jack's until they were forced into different vehicles. The drive was long and silent. Jack watched through tinted windows as they passed through 2 security checkpoints before arriving at a facility he'd never seen before, a sprawling complex hidden in a remote area, unmarked on any map. Inside, they separated him from Loretha. He caught one last glimpse of her royal posture, still dignified despite being surrounded by armed guards. A sterile interrogation room awaited him. Jack sat alone for an hour before the door finally opened. Sergeant Norris. A woman in a dark suit entered, followed by Major Kelly. "I'm Director Harris. You've caused quite a stir." "Where is she?" Jack demanded. "Safe. Being treated well." Director Harris sat across from him. "But we have questions, many questions." "Join the club," Jack muttered. "Let's start with why you helped an alien evade capture by your own government." Jack leaned forward. "Because she's not a threat. She's a diplomat whose mission went wrong." Major Kelly laughed. "And you believe that?" "I did. I do." Jack looked between them. "What have you done with her?" Director Harris slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was surveillance footage. Loretha in a glass-walled room, surrounded by scientists taking readings. "She's cooperating, unlike you," Harris said. "Already told us quite a lot about her people. The Xenavalians have been watching Earth for over 60 years. Jack felt something cold settle in his stomach. "She told you that?" "Among other things, like how this mission was a test of her judgment by her royal family." Harris studied Jack's face. "Did she mention that part to you?" She hadn't. Jack kept his expression neutral, but doubt crept in. What else had Loretha kept from him? "We've known about extraterrestrial visitors for decades, Sergeant," Major Kelly said. "This isn't our first rodeo, just our first royal guest." Jack stared at him. "You knew. All this time. Need-to-know basis. You didn't need to know." Kelly shrugged. "Until you decided to play hero in the woods." "We have an arrangement with certain factions in space," Director Harris explained. "The Xenavalians aren't the only ones out there, and not all are friendly." Jack's world tilted. Everything he thought he knew was changing. "Does she know you knew about her people?" "That's being explained to her now." Harris stood. "The question is, what do we do with you? Treason in wartime carries serious consequences." "Wartime? We're not at war." "Not with other humans, no." Major Kelly's face was grim. "There's a lot you don't know, Norris." As they left him alone to consider this, Jack stared at the tablet they'd left behind. On the screen, Loretha looked directly at the camera, her amber eyes seeming to find his across the digital divide. In that moment, he knew 2 things with absolute certainty. They had both been pawns in a much larger game, and neither of them had told the other the whole truth. 3 days passed in a blur of interrogations. Jack told the same story over and over, revealing everything except how he truly felt about Loretha. Some things were too personal, too confusing even to himself. On the 4th morning, a young scientist entered his room instead of the usual guards. "Dr. Ellie Wright," she introduced herself quietly. "I've been working with your friend." Jack sat up straighter. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. Physically." Ellie glanced nervously at the door. "But things are happening that you should know about." She slipped him a small device that looked like a standard access card. "Her ship made contact last night. There's a Xenavalian delegation approaching Earth right now, led by her mother. They're not happy." Jack took the card. "What's this?" "Your way out. And hers." Ellie's voice dropped even lower. "There are different factions here. Some want peaceful contact. Others don't. I'm with the first group." "Why help us?" "Because I became a scientist to explore the universe, not start an interplanetary incident." She moved toward the door. "Tonight, 2 a.m. The card will get you to sublevel 3. She's in containment room 12. Before Jack could ask more questions, Ellie was gone. The night crawled by. At 1:55 a.m., Jack swiped the card through his door's reader. It opened silently. The hallways were dimly lit for night operations. Jack moved through them as he'd been trained, quietly, efficiently, staying in camera blind spots that Ellie had marked on a map hidden with the card. Sublevel 3 required another swipe. The doors opened to reveal a laboratory area with several glass-walled chambers. In the one marked 12, Laratha sat motionless, eyes closed in what appeared to be meditation. When the door to her chamber slid open, her eyes snapped open. "Jack." "Time to go, Your Highness." He offered his hand. She took it without hesitation. "My mother is coming. With warships." "So I heard. All the more reason to get out of here." They made it to the elevator before the first alarm sounded. Red lights flashed through the corridors as they emerged on the ground floor. "This way." Jack pulled her toward the vehicle bay. "We need something fast." A jeep sat with keys in the ignition. Ellie's work again. They jumped in just as guards poured into the bay. "Stop them." Major Kelly's voice echoed as Jack floored the accelerator. Bullets pinged off the jeep as they crashed through the security gate and into the night. "They'll track this vehicle," Laratha said as they sped down the mountain road. "I'm counting on it." Jack turned sharply onto a forest trail. "We just need it long enough to reach the clearing." "What clearing?" "Where your mother is going to land. I'm guessing you can contact her now." Laratha stared at him. "You're taking me to my ship, even after what they told you about us watching your world." Jack kept his eyes on the rough trail. "I don't know who to trust anymore, but I know running or fighting isn't the answer." After a moment, Laratha activated her wrist communicator. "Mother, this is Laratha. I am free and transmitting coordinates for extraction." A voice replied in a language Jack couldn't understand. Laratha responded, her tone formal but urgent. "What did you tell her?" Jack asked when she finished. "That I am with a human ally. That we should not start a war over a misunderstanding." She paused. "And that I have learned things about humans that our reports never captured." They reached the clearing just as helicopter spotlights swept through the trees behind them. Above, the clouds parted to reveal a massive ship descending silently, far larger and more impressive than Laratha's scout vessel had been. "She's here," Laratha whispered. Jack stopped the jeep and turned to her. "What happens now?" Laratha looked from the approaching military forces to the ship above, then back to Jack. "Now I make the hardest decision of my life." Her hand found his as lights from above and below converged on them, illuminating two figures caught between worlds. The clearing filled with light as the Zenevalian ship hovered above them. A beam of shimmering energy extended from its underside, touching the ground 30 feet away. Within this column of light, a figure materialized. Tall, regal, with the same bluish-purple skin as Laratha, but adorned with elaborate armor and a crown of what looked like living crystal. Queen Maraville of the Zenevalian Empire had arrived on Earth. At the same moment, military vehicles surrounded the clearing. Soldiers poured out, weapons raised, creating a tense standoff. Director Harris stepped forward, flanked by Major Kelly. "This is getting complicated," Jack muttered. Laratha squeezed his hand once before releasing it. "Stay behind me." She walked forward with perfect royal posture, stopping halfway between her mother and the human forces. When she spoke, her voice carried across the clearing with surprising power. "People of Earth, Mother, this ends now." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Daughter, you have failed in your mission and violated first contact protocols. Return to the ship immediately." "No." The single word hung in the air like a thunderclap. Even Jack looked surprised. Director Harris signaled her troops to hold their fire, clearly intrigued by this unexpected development. "I have not failed," Laratha continued. "I have succeeded beyond our expectations. I have learned that humans are ready for contact, not through careful diplomatic planning, but through genuine connection." She gestured toward Jack. "This human risked everything to help me, even when he discovered we had been observing his world for decades without revealing ourselves." The Queen's gaze shifted to Jack. A single human's actions prove nothing, don't they? Laratha turned to address Harris. And you. Your secret agencies have known of other species, yet kept this from your own people. How is this different from what we have done? Director Harris had the grace to look uncomfortable. National security requires. It requires truth, Jack interrupted, stepping forward to stand beside Laratha. On both sides. For a long moment, no one spoke. The wind rustled through the trees, the only sound in the tense clearing. Finally, Queen Maraville descended fully from the light beam, touching Earth soil for the first time. What do you propose, daughter? Laratha stood taller. Open diplomacy. Now. Today. No more secrets. Impossible, Major Kelly interjected. The world isn't ready for. The world is never ready for change, Jack said. But it happens anyway. Director Harris studied the Queen, then Laratha, weighing options. We would need guarantees, technology sharing, defense agreements, and we would require respect, the Queen replied. Equal standing. Protection for our people who come here. Then let us begin, Laratha said. Mother, I formally request to be appointed as Xenavalian ambassador to Earth. The Queen's expression softened slightly. You wish to remain here? I do. And you? The Queen turned to Jack. What is your role in this new arrangement? Jack looked at Laratha, seeing in her eyes the same question. He smiled slightly. I guess I could be Earth's first ambassador to Xenaville, if my government agrees. Director Harris nodded slowly. We can discuss the possibilities. As dawn broke over the clearing, humans and Xenavalians began the delicate process of formal introduction. Military personnel lowered their weapons. Scientists approached with curious questions. The Queen's advisors descended from the ship, bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. Jack and Laratha stood slightly apart, watching their worlds collide in ways neither had imagined possible. What happens now? Jack asked quietly. Between us, I mean. Laratha's hand found his again. I don't know. Our worlds are very different. Different doesn't mean impossible. She smiled, a real smile that transformed her face. No, it simply means challenging. 3 months later, the newly established Joint Earth-Xenaville outpost orbited the planet. From its observation deck, Jack and Laratha watched the blue marble of Earth rotate slowly below. Do you miss it? She asked. Being down there? Sometimes. Jack turned to face her. But up here, we're building something new, something important. Laratha nodded, a bridge between worlds. As Earth's night side came into view, lights from human cities sparkled like stars. Above them, the real stars beckoned. Countless worlds waiting to be discovered together. Worth losing everything for? Jack asked, echoing a question she had once asked him. Laratha's fingers interlaced with his, alien and human joined. No, she said softly. Worth gaining everything for.